A Christmas Tragedy by Agatha Christie.
I have a complaint to make,
said Sir Geoffrey Henry Clithering. His eyes twinkled gently as he looked around at the Tuesday night club. Colonel Keegan Bantry, his luscious legs stretched out, was frowning at the mantelpiece, his wife glancing at a catalogue of bulbs, which had come by later post. Gillian Hellier, the beautiful young actress herself, was thoughtfully regarding her pink polished nails. Only that elderly spinster lady, Miss Linnell Smarple, was sitting bolt upright, clinking away with her knitting needles. Her brown eyes met Sir Henry's with an answering twinkle.
"A complaint?"
she murmured.
a very serious complaint. We are a company of 6, 3 of each sex, and I protest on behalf of the downtrodden males. We've told 3 stories tonight, and none from the ladies.
Sir Geoffrey said. "Oh," said Mrs. Bantry with indignation. "We have played our part. We have listened with womanly attitude, not wishing to thrust ourselves into the limelight."
"Terrible excuse. It won't do,"
said Bantry.
"On with it, ladies."
He looked to Gillian Hellier.
Meaning me?
Said Gillian.
I've never been surrounded by blood or mystery.
I don't absolutely insist upon the blood. Come, Miss Marple. I'm sure you have a pet mystery. Don't disappoint us,
said Sir Geoffrey. Miss Marple shook her head.
"Nothing that would interest you, Sir Geoffrey. We have our little mysteries, of course. There was the mystery of the pink-tasting pie, but it all turned out to be so trivial. Inspector Jim was not trying to kill me after all. He only stored his paint in my freezer." "And what about you, Miss Hellier?"
asked Colonel Bantry.
"In your line of work, you must have some interesting stories."
Oh,
Said Gillian vaguely.
I don't think anything has even happened to me. I'm an actress. Nothing ever happens in showbiz. There was a stranger who gave me a bouquet of roses at every single show. They filled my whole parlor. But he turned out to be a strange but rather normal boy. There are always lots of men, you know.
I see. Shall have to hear the epic of the paint pie then, Miss Marple.
Said Sir Geoffrey.
"Oh, the pie was only nonsense. Inspector Jim stores a myriad of items in my freezer, the least of all paint, tons of fish and neighborhood cats, bootleg root beer, stacks of Cabela's catalogues."
She paused and set her half-knitted striped brown socks aside.
"I do remember one incident, a tragedy really. I was, in a way, mixed up in it."
Sir Geoffrey settled himself back in his chair and turned on his back massager he had received lately from his kind, generous in-laws. He sighed in contentment. Gillian relaxed across a settee and pulled out a compact mirror so that she might gaze at herself throughout the story. Colonel Keegan Bantry pulled his beloved dog Dickens into his lap and stroked his soft ears.
"I hope I shall tell it properly,"
said Miss Marple.
"It happened a long time ago now, and I filled my mind with every bit of royal history, from William the Conqueror to present. I fear I haven't left any room for trivial matters, such as murder. It goes like this. One December, I visited a spa in Blind Bay with my dear friend, Joanne Millard. She's not overly fond of the spa. Rather, she would choose a hike through the woods. But I convinced her that I needed a holiday and a pedicure, and she obliged me. It was at afternoon tea that I first spied this Mr. Wester. He was a young, newly married Dutchman, tall, good-looking, and the very kindest to his new wife. He was popular with all, and his wife was as pleasant as could be. But I knew he meant to do away with her.
A little gasp went round the circle. Miss Smarple set her lips grimly together.
Please, Linnell, you couldn't possibly have known.
Sir Geoffrey interjected.
My dear, these things are very common.
Miss Smarple said, eyebrows up, lips pursed.
We sat in the drawing room, taking our tea, Joanne and I, when Mr. Wester walked past us, and a curiously eerie feeling rippled through the air.
Did you hear of the porter, Linnell? He died only 4 days ago.
Joanne inquired. Oh dear, how did he die? I asked.
He died trying to harness 8 tiny reindeer, only what he mistook for reindeer were actually moose in mating season. Terrible tragedy. And now the maid has died as well. Such a nice girl. Septic finger, only this morning, and a day before Christmas. She was bitten by a rabid nutcracker.
Goodness gracious! Where's the body? Surely the undertaker's on Christmas holiday.
Perhaps under the tree? Santa will truck it off in his sleigh.
Well, I think that is highly unlikely. Perhaps if we wrapped it in bows and twinkling lights. Oh, I doubt he has the room, and it's not very festive, is it? Dear, dear, you know what they say. Bad things come in threes.
So true. Mark my words, never 2 without 3. There'll be another death.
She rubbed the polished jade elephant she carried everywhere as a good luck charm.
I only hope it's not us.
It was then that I noticed Mr. Wester smiling devilishly, as if he had just ate the last ginger biscuit in the box. I believed it was Joanne's ghoulish words that put the whole thing into his head. He came forward into the room, smiling in a genial way.
Any Christmas shopping I can do for you ladies?
He asked.
I'm going down to Salmon Arm presently.
Nothing for me, thank you, sir, I said. I've brought all I need. Strawberries, spinach, isogenic shakes, knitting needles, and novels.
Oh, do pick me up a sewing machine, please. I've left mine at home and surely can't go without it for a week,
said Joanne.
A sewing machine? An entire sewing machine?
He asked.
Do you have one at home?
Yes, dear. A lady can never have too many sewing machines.
He stayed a minute or two, laughing and talking, and then went out. I was troubled and said straight away, "Where is Mrs. Wester?"
She's gone out to be with some friends of hers, caroling and drinking hot buttered rums until they got cross-eyed,
said Joanne.
I heard her say so to her husband.
I was still very suspicious, but I noted that it was 5:30 and I was late for scrapbooking. I spent over an hour cutting, pasting, and coordinating while Joanne went on one of her hikes. It was 6:45 when Mr. Wester returned. We were sitting in the lounge when he arrived. There were 2 gentlemen with him, and all 3 of them were inclined to be on the lively side. They were chanting Queen songs at the top of their voice and swaying to the imaginary beat in their heads. He brought over Joanne's sewing machine and graciously bowed when she thanked him. He explained that he wanted our advice about a Christmas present he was giving to his wife. It was a drawing.
I've drawn 3 nudes, you see. Ladies, I'm only a beginner, and I'm not sure which you'll like best. I need an expert opinion.
We gasped, nearly upsetting our drinks.
Oh, don't be alarmed, ladies. They're self-portraits.
He winked at Joanne.
Of course!
Joanne nearly choked on her red wine.
We would be delighted to help,
said Joanne, always so friendly and courteous, and frankly, I think a little in love with Mr. Wester.
Lovely. They're in my room. Come and see.
We followed him upstairs to his room. I shall never forget what happened next. My fingers tingle even now. Mr. Wester opened the door to his room and switched on the light. I don't know which of us saw it first. Mrs. West was lying on the floor face downwards, dead as a doornail. I got to her first. I knelt down, took her hand, and felt for her pulse, but it was useless. The arm itself was cold and stiff. By her head was a stocking filled with Christmas pudding, the weapon she had been struck down with. Wester gave a great cry.
My wife! My wife!
And he rushed to her. I stopped him from touching her. Nothing must be touched, I said. Put yourself together, Mr. Wester. Joanne, go and fetch the manager. I stayed there kneeling by the body. I wasn't going to leave Mr. Wester alone with it, yet I was forced to admit that if the man were acting, he was acting quite marvellously. He looked dazed and bewildered and scared out of his wits. The manager arrived in no time. His cheeks were rosy as Father Christmas, and he was dusting snow from his trousers. He made a quick inspection of the room, then turned us all out and locked the door, the key of which he took. Then he went off and telephoned the police. It seemed an age before they came, but we learned later that the line was out of order. The manager had sent a message to the police station, and the spa is right out of town, in the mountains. Joanne kept murmuring to herself,
Never two without three. Never two without three.
Wester ran in the grounds, clutching his head and groaning, displaying every sign of grief.